Everywhere you seem to look at the moment on social media, all you see is images and videos and people talking about the life out here in the UAE, specifically Dubai, but Abu Dhabi and the UAE in general. And if you are someone that is considering moving out here to the UAE, this is my 4-year review. To give some context before I mainly get into this video and start talking about some key points, I've lived here in Al Ain, which is part of the Emirate of Abu Dhabi. It's a bit more inland, it's not on the coast. But I've lived here for the last 4 years. I'm a teacher, so if you're watching this and you're a teacher, I'll be able to give you a bit of context to what life is like working here. But I have spent a lot of time over the last 4 years in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai, in some of the Emirates. And so I've got a real good understanding of the lifestyle, the cost of living, travel opportunities, and having come from the UK, I'm able to make some quite good comparisons. So why did I move over here? Well, probably similar to most people. The opportunities, the lifestyle, the ability to earn a tax-free wage. Living in the UK as a teacher is tough. Even if you're not a teacher, if you're a nurse, or depending on your career path, life in the UK is quite hard. And so, being able to have the skills to move to Dubai, to move to Abu Dhabi, it was an opportunity that I didn't want to miss up on. Plus, I've always wanted to live and work abroad. So when I started looking for jobs overseas and I made that initial jump to do it and to commit to it, this was an obvious place. And I'm so glad that I did. So I'm going to start off by talking about the career opportunities. Now, I can only really speak from the perspective of a teacher. I do know other people that work in other fields out here, so I can comment a little bit on that, but I don't have much experience in that area. The main thing for me is teaching. Now, I came from the UK, a tiny little village school in the middle of the Cotswolds in Gloucestershire. And although there were opportunities for me, and I was very early on in my career, I'd only taught for 2 years back home, there wasn't that much of a ladder. It was more of a stepping stool. For me to progress in leadership, it was quite tricky. I would have needed someone to have left in order for me to have had an opportunity. Whereas coming here into the UAE, the schools, firstly, are predominantly private. Parents pay to send their children to them. There is a government system, but I'm not in that, so I can't really comment too much on that. But because the schools are so much bigger and there are so many of them, there are always opportunities for leadership opportunities, for moving between schools if you feel like that is appropriate for you. And I've found that over the last 4 years, every year I've had opportunities to progress in one way or another. Whether that's been stepping into the head of year role like I have this year, managing within subjects, there's been training courses that have helped me progress my career, and I've been surrounded by teachers from all parts of the world with lots of different experience that have also been able to connect me with other people too. So purely from an educational standpoint, purely from me being a teacher in a school, the progress I've made over the last 4 years has been incredible. And that's because of the resources that have been available to me. Regarding other careers, I do know that there are a number of nurses that work out here. And again, there are so many different private hospitals. So I'm sure there are many opportunities too. I know lots of people in the military that are over here. Now, obviously, it depends on where you're from, how that would work out with, your posting. But I know there is a lot of military over here. There are a lot of engineers for the aircrafts. I know that there's a lot of people that work in the local airbase here, and they have very much enjoyed their time here, and some of them have been here for 20 plus years. If you're into fitness and sport, I know someone who started off working as a teacher, then moved down to Dubai and has his own business down in Dubai, working PT and doing sport recovery. And as you can imagine, there is so many athletes, professional athletes, that are drawn to this part of the world to rehab, to recover. Footballers in the off season will come here. So there is a lot of opportunities, and fitness and lifestyle is a huge thing out here. So depending on your role, you may well find that you can get a fantastic opportunity here too. Now, lifestyle is a massive thing here too. And if I compare my life in the UK to my life here, it's black and white in terms of the differences. The first thing is the majority of jobs that you will potentially get here. Again, it depends on where you're from, the qualifications, the skills, the kind of jobs you're applying for. You have a tax-free wage, which is fantastic. So all the money you earn is yours. If you're a teacher like myself, I get my accommodation included within my package. So I'm not paying hefty fees for rent every month, which again, in the UK, for some people, that's half of your monthly income. It goes on rent and living expenses. And because you've got that additional income, it means that you can afford to do things with friends, with family members. You can afford to go out and eat if you want to. You can afford to go to different places, go to brunches, go and, for me, go out and play golf on a weekend. Whereas, again, in the UK, when I lived there, I was having to count my pennies a bit more. I was having to plan when I did things with friends because otherwise, perhaps I couldn't have afforded it. And so, because of that, when I get to the weekends, when it gets to my evenings, I'm not thinking, oh, can I afford to do this? Can I afford to do that? I'm more thinking, who can I go and do this with? Who can I go and do that with? So the opportunities and the experiences that you have here open up massively. Before I move on to the next part, I will add at this point that a lot of people watching me talking about money and lifestyle may look at other areas and other elements. There are lots of workers here. There are lots of people that work as nannies and as carers that perhaps don't have the luxury that I have. And I'll also add, there are people that have far more luxury than I do out here as a teacher. Now, I think it's important to use the word opportunity. There is always opportunity here. And yes, there are still certain things that are far out of my grasp financially that I can't just go and do. Don't have this vision that I'm driving a Ferrari. That's most definitely not the case. But in my lifestyle currently, and the things that I am able to do now that I couldn't do in the UK, it is massively different. And I just wanted to add that before I move on. Now, when I eventually move on from this country, one thing that is most definitely going to stay with me is the people I've met. And when I first moved out here, and having thought about my time here and what it took me to get here, the hardest thing for a lot of people moving away from their home country, and again, this doesn't apply to everybody, is making that first step and going and actually trying to live in a different country. When you're in a situation where you've got your job and you've got your friends and your family and you feel comfortable, you don't necessarily have that burning need or urge to move. But having moved out here, the amount of people that are ambitious, the amount of people that are here that have desires to travel and do a lot of the things that I love to do is incredible. I've met people that have lived incredible lives and have been all over the world, and their stories are amazing. And that's all because, similar to myself now, they've taken that jump to move out of what they found comfortable at the time and have moved over to the UAE. And in many cases, the people I've met have lived in Asia and they've lived in Africa and they've lived all over the place. So the friends that I have made really have lifted me up. And as they say, you're a product of your environment. And I think that in the UK, people often, find themselves quite sedentary. They stay in their place. They live in the same town for their whole life. They have the same job. They don't ever really move on. And so coming out here, the people, they're incredible. Travel is huge. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, these are massive travel ports. They're travel hubs. People come in and go out all the time. It's a constant cycle. And for me, as a teacher here, I've done some incredible travels over the last few years, the majority of which in the summer when I've got the sort of the 6-week holiday at the end of the year, we've been traveling all around Asia. And again, the ability to do that is incredible. Now, obviously, living in the UK, in the summer holidays, you can travel to different parts of the world. You obviously have Europe on your doorstep and you can interrail around Europe and things like that. But to be able to get to some of the countries and experience some of the things I've experienced over the last 4 years, I definitely wouldn't have had the opportunities or been able to afford it as much if I lived back in the UK. Getting a flight over to Asia from here is, it's about a 5 or 6 hour flight and I'm in Thailand. And then from Thailand to be able to bop around is really easy. And then coming back again is really easy. So the opportunities and the ability to travel here is amazing. And I know that a lot of people that I'm friends with, that I work with, that is a big reason why they move to this part of the world, is the ability to move around. And like I say, we're quite central. I don't want this video to just come across as me promoting life out here in the UAE, because although a lot of the things I've said have been really positive, and there's not really any negatives that I would say, it is a big lifestyle change depending on where you've come from. Now, the cost of living, it can be quite high. Renting an apartment in Dubai is extortionate. But again, depending on the job you get, like I say, I'm a teacher, so I don't pay my rent. So if you're a teacher in Dubai, you would likely get yourself accommodation included as well. But if you're not, you will have to pay for your rent, which is not cheap. In terms of a night out, going on a casual night out, if, for instance, you were to drink, a pint of beer will probably cost you 50 dirham, which is the equivalent of about 10 or 11 pounds. So in comparison to the £4 pint that you might get back in the UK, you're looking at central London prices for everything here. Now, that's where things like brunch lifestyle comes in, where you can pay for a package. There are ways to get around that, and you can most definitely live a more cost-effective lifestyle here and still enjoy the same things, but it can be pricey, it can be expensive, and we're in an Islamic country, so there are certain things that you can get and access in Europe that you cannot get as easily here. So that's just something to bear in mind. So as I get to the end of this video, the reason why I'm doing this is because I am actually leaving at the end of this year. Now, I know I've just spoken highly of the UAE and all the amazing things that you can get here, but Daisy and I are at that point in our lives now where we're looking for the next step. And I have secured myself a job in Spain. So in about a month's time, when it is the end of this current school year, this academic year, Daisy and I are going to be shipping out and we are going to be heading down to Alicante in Spain, which is great. Alicante is a beautiful place. We visited Alicante last year and Daisy's family live in Spain. I get the opportunity to then visit my family a bit more regularly because they live in the UK. So being back in Europe is something that we're quite looking forward to. Now, yes, as I've said in this video, we are going to have to adapt to certain things. I am going to have to start paying taxes on my wage again. We are going to have to start paying for our rent, but cost of living in Spain is a little bit cheaper than it is here. Accessibility to different things is going to be different in Spain, and we're very much excited for this next part of our journey. Now, I will document the process of getting a visa because now the UK is no longer in the EU. I have to go through that visa process, which is great. But I will document that closer towards the summer and the move, and I will share all of the stresses and the joys of that move. But we're currently in the process, the procedures of packing up, getting things sold, and moving on. Yeah. Anyway, that is my 4-year review. I have absolutely loved my time here, but I do think I am ready for the next stage of my life and moving on back to Europe. So if you enjoyed this video or you found it at all useful, please hit that like button. There'll be various links in my bio. Go and check those out. And if you have any questions about life here in the UAE or indeed moving on and visa processes and things like that, comment down below. And I'll catch you in the next one. Hopefully it won't be so long. See you soon.